My boyfriend demanded to meet my parents before we could live together, but I kept refusing because they ended every single relationship I had. When we finally had dinner together, my dad confessed I was the product of my mom's affair and he hated me. My entire life, I, 26F, have been with my boyfriend Sean, 29 May, for almost 3 years now. He wants us to get a place together and I want that too, but he won't sign a lease until he meets my parents. I keep making excuses, and he's starting to think I'm ashamed of him or hiding something. The truth is much worse than that. My parents have ended every single relationship I've been in since I was 19. Not through normal parent things like being protective or asking questions. They go out of their way to make sure the guy leaves and never speaks to me again. I know how this sounds, but I need to explain the pattern. My first boyfriend was during my second year of college. I met him in a biology lab and we dated for about 8 months before I brought him home. I was nervous, but my parents kept asking to meet him, so I figured it was time. I grew up in a house where my parents always seemed normal to everyone else. My older sister, Rebecca, had been married for 2 years at that point, and they loved her husband. They went to all her college events and helped pay for her wedding. I thought maybe I had been imagining the distance between us. The dinner started fine. My mom made pot roast, and my dad asked him basic questions about school and his major. About halfway through dinner, my sister called and said she needed help with something at her apartment. She lived about 15 minutes away. My mom told me to go help her and that they would entertain my boyfriend until I got back. I didn't want to leave, but my sister said it was urgent. When I got to her place, she was fine. She said Mom told her to call me and get me out of the house for a bit. She didn't know why. I drove back as fast as I could. When I walked in the front door, I heard yelling and crashing sounds from the living room. My boyfriend and my dad were on the floor hitting each other. My mom was screaming, and I just stood there. My dad's lip was bleeding, and my boyfriend had a red mark on his face. They separated, and my boyfriend grabbed his jacket and left without looking at me. I tried calling him that night, but he didn't answer. The next day, I went to his apartment. He opened the door, and when he saw me, he actually laughed. Not a nice laugh. He said I must think he's stupid if I thought he would fall for whatever game my family was playing. Then he shut the door. I tried texting him, but he blocked me on everything. My parents said he got aggressive when my dad asked him about his intentions with me. They said he started insulting me, and when my dad defended me, he threw the first punch. My sister backed up their story. She said Mom called her right after I left and told her what happened. I didn't know what to believe, but I had no proof otherwise. The second boyfriend was 2 years later. I met him at a friend's birthday party. We dated for over a year before I even mentioned my parents to him. I finally agreed to bring him to a family dinner because he kept saying it was weird that we had been together so long and he hadn't met them. I warned him my parents could be difficult, but I didn't tell him the full story. I didn't want to sound paranoid. This time was different, but somehow worse. My mom was overly sweet to him. She kept complimenting him and asking him questions, but in a way that felt like an interrogation. She brought up ex-boyfriends I never had. She asked him why he thought I chose him over all the other guys who had been interested in me. He looked confused because I had told him about my first boyfriend, but said I hadn't dated much. I could see him starting to doubt me. My dad waited until after dinner. We were in the living room and he asked my boyfriend what his career plans were. My boyfriend said he was finishing his degree in engineering and had an internship lined up. My dad asked how he planned to support me on an intern's salary. My boyfriend said we were both still in school and working part-time. My dad said that wasn't good enough and asked if he expected me to support him. My boyfriend stood up and said he didn't need this. He told me my family was controlling and he wanted nothing to do with them. Then he said if I couldn't stand up to them, we were done. He left and blocked me before I even made it to my car. I confronted my parents about it. I asked why they treated him that way when they never treated Rebecca's husband like that. My dad said they were just making sure he was serious about me. My mom said if he really cared, he would have handled their questions better. I stopped going to family dinners after that. I only saw them on major holidays and kept my distance. Then I met someone else in my final year of college. I made the mistake of letting my mom guilt me into bringing him to Sunday dinner. She said she wanted to make up for how things went before. The same thing happened. They were cold to him and asked invasive questions until he got fed up and left. He didn't even break up with me in person. He just sent a text saying I clearly had issues to work out with my family and he wasn't going to be part of it. After that, I decided I was done with them. I moved to a different city after graduation and only called them on birthdays and holidays. I met Sean about 6 months after moving. He works in software development and we met through a mutual friend. Things have been good with him. Better than good. He's patient and kind and he doesn't push me to talk about things I'm not ready for. But now we've been together almost 3 years and he wants to take the next step. He wants to meet my family before we move in together because he says it's important to understand where your partner comes from. I've been putting it off for months. I told him my parents live far away. I told him they're busy. I told him we don't get along well. None of it worked. Last week he sat me down and said he needs to know why I won't let him meet them. He said if I can't be honest with him about this, then maybe we're not ready to live together. I started crying because I knew I was going to lose him either way. Either I keep refusing and he thinks I don't trust him, or I let him meet them and they drive him away like everyone else. I don't know what to do. Sean is the longest relationship I've ever had. I can't imagine my life without him. But I also know what will happen if he meets my parents. They will find some way to make him leave. They always do. I've thought about just lying and saying we met them, but Sean wants to have dinner with them. He wants to see where I grew up and meet my sister. He doesn't understand that my family isn't like his family. His parents are nice people who ask normal questions and actually want to get to know me. My parents are different. I don't know why they act this way. Rebecca's husband never had these problems. They welcomed him from day one. They helped them buy their first house and they babysit their kids every weekend. With me, it's like they want me to be alone. Every time I bring someone home, they make sure it ends. I tried talking to Rebecca about it once. She said I was being dramatic. She said Mom and Dad just want what's best for me, and if those guys couldn't handle a few tough questions, then they weren't right for me anyway. But it's not just tough questions. It's deliberate sabotage. And I don't understand why. I'm writing this because I need advice. Do I tell Sean everything and hope he believes me? Do I just refuse to let him meet them and risk losing him anyway? Do I set up the meeting and pray this time will be different even though I know it won't be? I feel trapped. I finally found someone who makes me happy, and I'm going to lose him because of my parents. I don't even know if they'll act normal this time or if they'll pull the same things they always do. I just know I'm terrified and I don't have any good options. Part of me wants to just cut my parents off completely and tell Sean they're not in my life anymore. But he'll want to know why. And explaining why sounds insane without proof. I can't prove my dad and my first boyfriend got into a fight because I wasn't there to see how it started. I can't prove my parents were trying to sabotage my second boyfriend because their questions could seem normal to someone who wasn't there. It just looks like I can't keep a relationship, and I'm blaming my parents for it. But I know what I saw. I know the pattern. 3 different guys who all left the same way after meeting my parents. 3 relationships that ended right after family dinner. That can't be a coincidence. Sean is different, though. He's older and more confident than the others were. Maybe he won't let them get to him, or maybe that will just make them try harder. I don't know, and I'm running out of time to figure it out. Sean said he'll wait until the end of the month for an answer. Either we set up a dinner with my parents, or he's going to start looking for his own place. He didn't say we'd break up, but I could hear it in his voice. He's tired of waiting. I don't blame him. I would be too. But I also know that dinner is going to be the end of us either way. Update 1. I told Sean everything. I showed him this post and all the comments. I expected him to think I was exaggerating or that I had some role in those relationships ending. Instead, he just listened and then asked me questions about each incident. He wanted to know exact details about what my parents said and did. He took notes on his phone. When I finished, he didn't speak for a while. Then he said he believed me, but he still wanted to meet them. I asked him why he would walk into that situation knowing what they've done. He said he had a feeling there was more to this than just them being overprotective or judgmental. He said something about their behavior didn't add up and he wanted to see it for himself. He promised we would leave the second things went wrong. He made me agree that I would walk out with him no matter what they said. We set up a Sunday dinner at their house. I called my mom and told her I wanted them to meet Sean. She sounded surprised but happy. Too happy. She immediately started planning the menu and asking if Sean had any food restrictions. That should have been my first warning sign. She was never this accommodating before. The week leading up to the dinner, I barely slept. Sean kept telling me it would be okay and reminding me we had an exit plan. I made him promise again that we would leave if anything felt wrong. He promised. We drove to my parents' house on Sunday afternoon. My hands were shaking the entire drive. When we pulled up, I saw Rebecca's car in the driveway. I didn't know she would be there. That made me even more nervous because she always took their side. My mom answered the door and hugged me. She hugged Sean too and welcomed him in like he was already family. My dad shook his hand and offered him a beer. Rebecca and her husband were in the living room with their kids. Everyone was smiling. It felt wrong. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Dinner was ready when we arrived. My mom had made a full spread with roast chicken and all the sides. She asked Sean about his work and his family. My dad asked him about sports and hobbies. Rebecca asked how we met. Everything was normal. Too normal. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, but it didn't. Sean looked at me a few times like he was confused about what I had been worried about. We made it through the entire meal without incident. I started to think maybe I had been wrong. Maybe they had changed. Maybe they realized they had been too hard on the others. Then we moved to the living room for coffee and dessert. My mom brought out photo albums. She showed Sean pictures of me as a kid. There weren't many of me compared to the number of pictures of Rebecca. Sean noticed. He commented that there seemed to be a lot more photos of my sister. My mom laughed and said Rebecca was just more photogenic. My dad added that I was always hiding from the camera. Then my mom made a comment about how I had always been difficult with relationships even as a teenager. She said boys were never interested in me in high school and that she worried I would end up alone. Sean said that was strange because I had told him I was just shy in high school. My mom gave me a look and said I must have misremembered. That's when my dad asked Sean if I had told him about my ex-boyfriends. Sean said yes. My dad asked which ones. Sean named the 3 I had told him about. My dad laughed and said there were more than that. He said I had a tendency to get attached to guys who didn't want anything serious. My mom agreed. She said I always picked the wrong type. I told them that wasn't true. I said the relationships ended because they couldn't handle meeting the family. My dad asked what I meant by that. I reminded him about the fight with my first boyfriend. He looked confused and asked what fight. My mom said she didn't remember any fight. Rebecca said she didn't either. I looked at them all and realized they were gaslighting me right in front of Sean. I started to say something, but Sean put his hand on my knee. He turned to my dad and said it was interesting that they didn't remember, because it seemed like a significant event. My dad said maybe I had dreamed it, or confused it with something else. Sean asked them directly why they thought my previous relationships had ended. My mom said it was probably because those boys realized I came with too much baggage. She said I had always been an anxious child who needed a lot of attention. My dad said they tried their best with me, but I was never as easy as Rebecca. Sean asked what they meant by that. There was a long pause. Then my dad said something about how they had always done their best by both their daughters. Rebecca jumped in and said mom and dad had been great parents to both of them, but the way she said it felt forced. Sean looked at me and then back at my parents. He said he noticed they seemed to have put a lot more energy into Rebecca's life than mine. He mentioned the wedding help and the house and the babysitting. He said it seemed like they had a much closer relationship with her. He asked if there was a reason for that. My mom's face changed. The fake warmth disappeared. She said Rebecca earned their support by making good choices. She said I had a habit of blaming others for my problems. My dad agreed. He said they loved both their daughters, but respect had to be earned. Then Sean said something that changed everything. He said it must have been hard having 2 daughters so close in age. My sister and I are only 13 months apart. My mom's face went white. My dad stood up and said it was getting late. Sean said he was just making conversation and asked if that was a sensitive topic. My dad told him it was time for us to leave. Sean said we would go, but he had one more question. He asked my dad point blank if I was actually his biological daughter. The room went completely silent. My mom started crying. Rebecca stood up and told Sean he had no right to ask that. My dad's face turned red and he told Sean to get out of his house. Sean stood up and took my hand. He said he would leave, but he wanted an answer first. My dad didn't say anything. He just pointed at the door. Sean turned to me and said we should go. I was frozen. I couldn't move or speak. Sean helped me up and we walked to the door. As we were leaving, I heard my dad say something under his breath. Sean heard it too. He turned around and asked him to repeat it. My dad said that I had been nothing but a problem since the day I was born, and he was done pretending otherwise. My mom was still crying. Rebecca was trying to comfort her. Sean asked him why he would say that about his own daughter. My dad said, because I wasn't his daughter. He said my mom had an affair and got pregnant and he only stayed because she begged him to. He said he tried to love me like Rebecca, but he couldn't. He said every time he looked at me, he saw the man who destroyed his marriage. I didn't cry until we got to the car. Then I couldn't stop. Sean drove us back to his apartment because I couldn't go back to mine. I stayed there for 3 days. I didn't answer calls or texts from anyone. My mom called 47 times. Rebecca called and texted saying I needed to come home and apologize for bringing Sean there. My dad sent one text that said I was being selfish and overdramatic as usual. Sean finally made me look at my phone. He said I needed to decide what I wanted to do. I blocked my parents. I blocked Rebecca too. Sean said I could stay with him as long as I needed to. That was 2 weeks ago. Update 2. After I blocked my parents, they started showing up at my apartment. I wasn't staying there because I was still at Sean's place, but my neighbors told me they came by multiple times. They left notes on my door. My mom's notes said I was breaking her heart. My dad's notes said I was being immature and needed to come home so we could talk like adults. Rebecca kept texting from different numbers every time I blocked her. She said mom was depressed and it was my fault. She said I was tearing the family apart over nothing. She said dad had been under a lot of stress when he said those things, and he didn't mean them. I didn't respond to any of it. Sean helped me figure out what to do next. He suggested I talk to someone at his company's employee assistance program since I wasn't ready to deal with my family. I called the number and they connected me with a counselor who specialized in family issues. I had 3 phone sessions with her. She said what my parents did was abusive, and that my dad's revelation explained a lot about their treatment of me. She helped me write out a plan for setting boundaries. The plan included staying no contact with my parents and my sister. It included documenting any attempts they made to contact me. It included finding a new apartment in a different part of town so they couldn't just show up. Sean offered to help me move and to be there when I went to get my things from my old place. About a month after the dinner, I got a friend request on Facebook from someone named Teresa K. Her profile picture showed a woman who looked familiar, but I couldn't place her. I almost ignored it, but something made me click on her profile. She had photos going back years. In one of the older photos, she was standing with an older couple who were clearly her parents. But she looked like she could be related to me. Same dark hair and same nose and same build. I accepted the request. Within an hour, she sent me a message. She said she had been looking for me for weeks. She said she thought we might be half-sisters. She sent me a picture of a birth certificate. It showed my mother's name as the birth mother, and the father was listed as unknown. The baby's name was Teresa, and the birth date was August 1997. I was born in September 1998, 13 months apart, just like Rebecca and me. Teresa said she was adopted as a baby. She grew up in a town about 2 hours from where I grew up. She only recently got access to her original birth certificate and started searching for her birth mother. She found my mom's name on social media and saw photos of Rebecca and me. She said when she saw my face, she knew we were related. She took a DNA test and uploaded it to one of those ancestry websites. I showed up as a close match. I called Sean and showed him the messages. He said I should meet her. I was hesitant because I didn't know if I could handle another revelation about my family, but I agreed. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our two cities. When I saw her in person, it was like looking at a slightly different version of myself. She had the same mannerisms and the same laugh. We talked for 3 hours. She told me about her adoptive family who loved her and gave her a good life. She said she wasn't looking to disrupt anything, but she wanted to know where she came from. I told her everything about my parents and what happened at the dinner. She listened and didn't seem surprised. She said my mom had signed away all rights when she was born. Her adoptive parents told her that the birth mother was very young and not ready to be a parent, but the birth certificate showed my mom was 23 when Teresa was born, old enough to know what she was doing. Teresa said she always wondered why her birth mother gave her up, but kept the children she had later. Then Teresa told me something else. She said she had been in contact with our maternal grandfather. I didn't know what she meant. My mom's parents died when I was little. At least that's what I was always told. Teresa said that wasn't true. Our grandfather was alive and had been trying to find both of us for years. My mom told him she wanted nothing to do with him, and that we wanted nothing to do with him either. He believed her until Teresa reached out to him after finding his name in some adoption records. Teresa gave me his phone number. I called him that night. He picked up on the second ring. When I told him who I was, he started crying. He said my mom cut him out of her life after Teresa was born because he told her she was making a mistake by giving the baby up. He said when she got pregnant again a year later, he thought she would let him back in her life, but she didn't. He said he tried for years to contact us, but my mom always blocked him. He said he sent birthday cards and gifts, but never got responses. He assumed we didn't want to know him. We talked for over an hour. He told me about my grandmother who passed away 5 years ago. He said she never stopped asking about us. He sent me photos of them together, and photos of my mom as a child. He asked if he could meet me. I said yes. Sean drove me to meet him the following week. He lived in a small house by the lake with pictures of family all over the walls. There were pictures of Teresa that her adoptive parents had sent him over the years. There were school photos and graduation photos and photos of her wedding. He had a whole life documented that my mom had denied him. He showed me photos of my mom growing up and told me stories about her childhood. She sounded like a completely different person than the woman I knew. He asked about my life and I told him everything. He said he was sorry for what I went through. He said my mom had always been stubborn and proud, but he never thought she would treat her own children the way she treated me. He asked if I wanted him to try talking to her. I said no. I didn't want anything to do with her anymore. Before we left, he gave me a box of things he had saved for me over the years. Birthday cards he had written but never sent. Small gifts. Photos. He said he always hoped he would get to give them to me someday. Teresa and I have been talking regularly since then. She invited me to have dinner with her adoptive family. They were kind and welcoming to both me and Sean. Her parents treated me like I was already part of the family. Her dad made jokes, and her mom asked me questions about my work and my hobbies. It was strange being in a house where parents actually wanted to know about their children's lives. My mom found out somehow that I had been in contact with Teresa. She sent me an email from an address I didn't have blocked. The email said I was betraying the family by digging up the past. She said Teresa should have stayed wherever she was and that I was being selfish for encouraging her. She said if I insisted on maintaining contact with Teresa, then I should consider myself no longer part of the family. I didn't respond. I forwarded the email to Teresa and to our grandfather. Then I blocked that email address too. Update 3. My parents didn't give up. After the email, my mom started creating fake social media accounts to message me. I blocked each one as I found them. Then they tried a different approach. I got a letter from a law office demanding repayment for my college tuition. The letter said that since I had cut contact with my family, I was no longer entitled to the financial support they had provided, and I owed them $60,000. Sean looked at the letter and said it didn't look legitimate. He called the law office listed on the letterhead. The number was disconnected. He looked up the firm online and found it didn't exist. My parents had created a fake legal letter to try to scare me into contacting them. Rebecca started texting Sean from different numbers. She told him he had ruined my life and destroyed our family. She said my mom was having health problems because of the stress I was causing. She said I was being cruel and heartless. Sean blocked the numbers and told me not to read the messages if any got through to me. Then my mom showed up at Sean's office. His company has security in the lobby and she couldn't get upstairs, but she waited in the lobby until Sean came down. She tried to talk to him, but he called security and had them remove her. She screamed at him in the lobby that he was keeping me from my family and that he had manipulated me into thinking they were bad people. Security escorted her out and told her she wasn't allowed back on the property. I unblocked my mom's number temporarily to send one message. I told her that any further contact from her or my dad or Rebecca would result in me filing for a restraining order. I told her to stop creating fake accounts and stop showing up places and stop sending letters. I told her I was done. Then I blocked her again. She tried one more thing. She posted on Facebook about how much she missed her daughter and how family should always forgive each other. She didn't mention my name, but it was obvious who she meant. Several of her friends commented with support. Then she emailed my boss. The email said she was worried about me and that I was going through a difficult time and might not be myself at work. She said I was dealing with mental health issues and she wanted my boss to be aware in case my behavior was concerning. My boss forwarded me the email and asked if everything was okay. I explained the situation briefly. I said my mother and I were estranged and she was attempting to interfere in my life. My boss said she appreciated me letting her know and that she wouldn't be responding to any further emails from my mother. She said if my mom showed up at the office to let her know immediately. After that, things got quiet. No more messages or calls or letters. No more fake accounts. My mom took down the Facebook post. Rebecca stopped texting Sean. It's been 3 months now without any contact from them. Teresa and I have gotten close. We talk on the phone at least once a week, and we've been getting together every few weeks. Sean gets along well with her husband. Our grandfather visits when he can, and we've started planning holidays together. Last month, we all drove up to the lake house and spent the weekend there. Teresa's adoptive parents came too. It was the first time I had been part of a family gathering where people actually wanted me there. Sean and I signed a lease on a new apartment. It's in a different neighborhood from where I was living before. My parents don't know the address. We moved in last week. The apartment is bigger than either of our old places. We spent the first night unpacking boxes and putting furniture together. When we finally finished and the place started to look like home, Sean asked me to marry him. I said yes. We're planning to elope in the spring. Just us and Teresa and her husband and our grandfather and Sean's best friend from college. No big ceremony and no guest list to worry about. Just the people who actually matter. I haven't spoken to my parents in over 6 months now. I don't plan to. Rebecca sent one last message a few weeks ago saying Mom wanted to reach out but was afraid I would reject her. I deleted it without responding. Whatever relationship we had is over. I'm not interested in rebuilding it or hearing explanations or accepting apologies that won't mean anything. They showed me for 26 years exactly who they were. I finally stopped making excuses for them. Some people have asked if I ever found out who my biological father is. I haven't looked. I don't know if I will. It doesn't feel important right now. What matters is that I have people in my life who actually care about me. Teresa and our grandfather and Sean and his family and Teresa's adoptive family. That's enough. The apartment still needs work. We need curtains for the living room, and we need to hang pictures, and we need to figure out what to do with the second bedroom. Sean wants to turn it into an office. I want to turn it into a guest room so Teresa and our grandfather can visit. We'll probably compromise and do both. That's what normal couples do. They compromise and plan and build something together. I'm still getting used to that.